Welcome to this edition of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang. I'm your host, Lia Chang. Today, I'm at the Quad Cinema for the opening night of BUNNYLOVR, starring and directed by Katarina Zhu and my dear friend Perry Leung, who is in the film and plays her father.
Thank you so much, Lia. Thank you so much for always covering us. I mean, hope you are all watching Backstage Pass with Lia Chang, because it's like award-winning journalism for our theater community here in New York City. Thank you, Lia, for covering us as usual.
So happy, so happy. But what's really exciting is that BUNNYLOVR is actually opening in New York and LA.
Today.
It's
running for a full week in New York City and LA, so if you can't make the premieres, come anyway, tell your friends. It's an incredible indie film written, directed, and acted in by young Asian American women. Can't beat that.
Right, and tomorrow, actually, the Q&A, you will be participating in the Q&A with actor Ken Leung, a very good friend of ours, fabulous.
I'm so excited that he's taking time off from HBO's industry to just kind of be with us.
And he just opened in Project Hail Mary.
That's right.
So we're lucky always to get him. On this segment of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang, I'm taking you inside the BUNNYLOVR post-screening Q&A with Perry Leung and Ken Leung at Quad Cinema in New York.
Honestly, about your life.
I can. I've been a really good girl. When I work like a regular nothing job.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be there in 15 minutes. You're not even really trying.
No, I'm sorry. I can't see you. Are you lonely? Because that's what I'm here for. I have plans with my dad. Oh my god, your papa.
Wow, look at you. How's your mother?
I'm really late for work. I should probably get going.
Thank you so much for the gift. I'm really not in a position to take care of a pet right now.
God, I wish I was there with you guys right now. I could use some good luck. My good luck charm.
Could you turn your camera on?
How about if you do something for me? You can trust me.
Are you gonna see him again?
I paid you to play pretend. That's what this is.
Hey, Lia.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Tristan, Scott Behrens. Thank you, Tristan and Roger Mancusi, for inviting me to be a part of this. And thank you all for coming to this screening. I'm very happy to have the opportunity for this chat with one of the stars of the film you just saw. He played William Becca's dad. Please welcome Perry Leung. So Perry and I have a somewhat similar trajectory. We both started in downtown theater here in New York. And I remember seeing you in your performance group Slant at La Mama in the mid-90s in a show called Big Dicks Asian Men, which went on
The musical.
It was a musical, and it went on to tour the country, I believe, and was kind of seminal in combining theater with social and cultural consciousness and activism. And as it happens in this field, you know, we, in our effort to find our way, we sometimes lose sight of each other. And it almost seems like I blinked and a couple of decades have passed, and suddenly you're in celebrated series like Warrior and The Nick, and Three Body Problem. So I would like to start, if you could, help kind of bridge that span a little bit for me, from downtown stage to small screen to big screen. What did that journey look like for you?
Oh my God, it must be just like your journey, right?
I don't know. I don't know. Is it?
Because we were pounding the pavement together. I was just telling Tristan, before there were any roles for us on TV and film, right?
Right.
I would see you auditioning and performing with Ma Yi, and I was doing things with, Pan Asian. We bumped into Daniel Day Kim, and we're all just running around pounding the pavement.
Yeah.
And then you got into Rush Hour, and it's like, there he goes, right? And Daniel got into like Lost,
Yeah.
and I had kids, so I was like, I laid low. But when my kids got older, then I saw the industry change, and you were part of that change, and Daniel Day Kim was part of that change, and Lucy Liu was part of that change. Justin Lin was part of that change with Better Luck
Tomorrow.
Better Luck Tomorrow. And and along that time, God, what was that first? Joy Luck Club even came about.
Yeah.
About that time. So, and then fast forward 20 years, Crazy Rich Asians. And then my kids got to be 10 years old, and I went, what? The industry is changing. There are actually roles that I can go out and audition for now. And I just started putting myself out there like anyone do, without any sort of film, TV, acting experience, just, doing student films. And then I got lucky, I got cast in Nick. And from there, it was just like, that I got a manager, an agent, just like that, because I got my foot in the door, right? Everyone's asked, like, how do
So you got the Nick without representation.
I got the Nick without representation. I wasn't in the union. I didn't have anything. And it was a cold audition, and they went, hey, we want to see you again. And I had done no TV or film then. I hadn't had any, you know how different it is acting on stage and television.
Yeah.
It's, you gotta adjust greatly, right? And so a friend of mine, good friend of mine, who was also a stage actor and film actor, said, hey, if you're going in for a callback, you want to work on some craft, So he kind of tutored me into like thinking about the camera and taking your choices down a bit. The camera is like a magnifying glass. You don't do what you do on stage in front of the camera.
Right. You don't need to reach a person in the back row.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So I kind of dialed my acting in and, did the callback. And a week later, they called me and said, Steven wants you, Steven Soderbergh. And I was like, I screamed, in my room, and my wife came running out, what is it? And I told her, Steven Soderbergh wants me in the Nick, and she screamed, because that's one of those moments there. It's like, your life will change at this moment, right? And then it did change. I got an agent, I went to auditions, I got cast, I got a manager, and I started booking right away. This was 2014 to 15, and I was auditioning for kind of day players, right? So I had to chop for day players. I thought walking, they were like, oh, that's the guy, right? But then, I booked a lot of those, and as you kind of move up a tier, it gets harder. Then it's like, oh, you have a scene, you have 2 scenes, and that's when you kind of have to work on your chops and get a little better, and have to dial in my acting chops a little more for what the scene requires. I don't know, that might be a little boring for you all who are just not, into the craft of acting, but I don't know, I encapsulated that journey well. And
that's pretty well. It's funny you should, a lot of, to fast forward to this film, I first of all, I found your scenes to be amongst, I think kind of obviously, amongst the more poignant scenes in this film. And one of the things that stood out that maybe is different from other films, where, they're in a rush to jump from big moment to big moment. This film is really special in its silences, I find. There's a lot of space to just breathe, to just be in the room with these characters.
You would have been perfect at yesterday's Q&A, because they asked about the time. Time and narrative, and how this sort of sits more of like impressionistically, you know what I mean? Instead of like a narrative that kind of pushes, which is very different from Hollywood films. There's a narrative that kind of adds up quickly.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I guess I also learned that Katarina, that this is kind of, it echoes a lot of her personal story. And that the father-daughter storyline that we see is really an imagining of what would happen if were she to run into her father, who she actually hasn't seen for 15 years or something. So how was that articulated to you, and how was that imagining worked out?
Yeah, that's a pretty incredible thing to point out, because when she showed me the script, I read the father line and I went, that's a really heavy role, right? Like, and it would be a gift for me to play that, and she was like, well, I want you to play it, it was an offer. I just met her in a cafe and she showed me, and we talked about it. And then she told me the story that her father in real life had abandoned the family when she was 13, and they had never heard from him again. And the line she says when she rides the subway, whenever I see an older Asian man, I go sit next to him to imagine he's my father. She really did that in real life. And it was just so moving to sit there and hear her tell her stories. And, and then I got to connect how she was using the script, the filmmaking, as therapy for her to release and let go of the father who never came back, and they don't know where he is, right? It's just her way of saying, you know what, this is gonna be the best way for her to move on in life, is to like bury her father in the nicest way possible, with love, like to let go of this father with love. And I was just so moved, like she didn't say that to me, but I saw it in the film and I read it in the script, so I'm connecting the dots.
Can I ask, because the father in the film is ill, he's dying,
right. They
is that part? Like, do we know? Is that an imagined?
It's imagined. It's fabricated. All she knows is the father left the family and they've never made contact again. They're pretty sure he's alive, but they don't know because nobody's made contact with him. So basically, he disappeared. So I think it's her way of closure, right? In the most healthy way possible.
Well, that's one side of it. The other side is that it's a crack in the door. It's like this film exists now, and if the father is on Earth,
he can find out.
He can watch it.
Right.
And I mean, that's kind of the first question. Like, how would he feel watching and imagining his daughter?
I wish I could answer that for you.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Because Katarina put this art out there, and it does live in the world now, and the door is open for him to come back in, because she's saying it. It's kind of an invitation.
That's right. It could be.
It's not a mean way
Not at all.
of dealing with the end of his father. Yeah.
Right.
So it's a really I mean, the film is about love, right? And that's what drew me to the script too. It's like it's all about love and all these different facets of parenting, platonic relationships, romantic relationships, online relationships, and this woman is trying to understand what love is amidst all of this chaos in New York City.
How did you guys create your relationship?
Well, it turns out that I'm the only main cast that lives in New York, so she actually had said, hey, can we meet and rehearse? And you know how it is, because you rarely get to rehearse. Right? You just show up and you do your work and you rehearse on the set as they're filming. And I saw it as an opportunity to bond with Katarina, because I didn't want to mess up her script, right? Like when I read the script and met her, I knew this was just a dream. It was her dream to make this movie. So I just wanted to be a really supportive part of her dream and not get in the way and not be like, well, I think it should be shot like this, none of that. I just wanted to serve the script. It was a beautiful script, and serve her in her vision of what this could be. And you can see she's got her own vision and style of what kind of film she wants to make.
Was there ever a part, I'm not even sure how to ask this, but knowing that the man you're playing exists, how did that get kicked around in your head? Or did you use that? Did you not use that? Did you know what I mean? Create a space for that in some way?
I actually did not think about his feelings at all. Right, because I was just serving the script. But I did think about my feelings as a father, and I have 2 kids, who are young adults now. And, William is not actually, it's funny, when I read the script, I went, oh, I'm nothing like William. I'm not like this father, right? But as I started rehearsing, I went, actually, I'm a lot like this father. It's kind of weird. I'm sure you've experienced that when you play characters that you're not like, and you go, wait, that's me,
Yeah.
And, but one thing I found that drew me in, that I went, I can chew on that part of the script was, when he meets her, he wants to reconcile the whole 13 years he's been gone, or whatever,
Yeah.
I can fix this relationship right now if you have coffee with me, and we can sort of rebuild and rekindle whatever this could be before I die. And I went, I have an experience with my father who passed away from cancer when he was young. And so I was an angry teen at the time, and I never got to say sorry for being such a bad kid, And I went, I think I can flip it around and play this father in a way that I can give her a chance, or him a chance, to find love and not live with regrets.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love when films, or being part of films, kind of accidentally, maybe not accidentally, but help us reconcile things like that.
I think the best filmmakers do that for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there certain roles that you're drawn to? Like, what are the attributes of roles that you're generally drawn to?
Well, this will go back to your first question. It's like, where have we gone in my trajectory in the history of, like, our Asian American men in Hollywood? We've had very little roles, right? I mean, in the 80s, I mean, what did we have? Long Dun Dong or something? What was his name?
Yeah.
That's his
That's
name. Oh my God. Him and David Carradine, you know what I mean? It was like, he's not even Asian, right? I mean, it's like there were no roles for us, so to actually be able to audition for roles in the, you saw it coming with Rush Hour, and then it sort of really opened up today, and just 4 years ago, we had 10 Asian American centered shows with Fresh Off the Boat, ABC, Warrior, Kung Fu again, the reboot of Doogie Howser. I mean, there's 5 other shows that were Asian American centered. That was like a golden age. They're all gone, All those shows have not been renewed. So what I look for is just a good role that says this actor has an arc. He's multidimensional. He experiences something, and we feel what this character experienced through this film, and that can sort of change how I feel about the world.
That we see a person and not a prototype.
Yeah, and not a trite stereotype that's kind of formulaic for...
Not a trope.
Right. And it was all over this film. I just went, oh my God, that Asian father is not like anything I've seen in Hollywood.
Yeah, to the point where he doesn't even need to say a lot. Like, they just need to be together, and we can see 2 people.
And that's to the power of Katarina as a writer and director also, and she often told me, take it down. Take it out a notch,
Oh, that's right. How was it to act next to the director?
It's a special thing. I don't know. Have you ever acted with the director?
I don't think so. Oh, I have, but not with this level of intimacy.
Yeah. So I've had 2 other experiences where I played the father in a character where the director was also the writer, and the father was the father of the writer and director, right? And so I have to play those. It's really tricky to play those roles, because then the director is like, you're not playing my father right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And or you really nailed my father, and so you kind of have to block that stuff out and just keep doing your job as the script, dictates. But with Katarina, I really felt it was so personal that I really just wanted to make her happy with this whole film, at least with my role, without interjecting any big choices that I might have, how I think the father can go, how the role. I just listened to her, and if she didn't say anything, it was perfect.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, she would say, "I think you could take it down."
Yeah.
And it was just like because of the quietness of the scenes, the spacing of the scenes, it sort of resonates, any little thing resonates bigger, right?
Right.
So she really wanted the quietness and the space to like let these relationships breathe.
He's such a mature filmmaker.
I think she is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why she's not here. It's like a totally like, glow, like all about her, because I'm just really, inspired by this young filmmaker with such maturity and able to manage a film production.
Yeah, yeah.
Able to work with producers, the whole creative team, your fellow actors, down to the, every day on set I saw her talk to the makeup person first thing in the morning, then the clothing before the scenes, what should we wear for the scenes, talking with Daisy Joe, the beautiful cinematographer, how we're gonna do the shots. And I was like, I'm just a fly on the wall to like be on their frequency, right? I just want to be on their frequency, so I'm like gonna blend in, and when they say action, it's just action, right?
Yeah.
And cut, and there's no other talking.
That's so inspiring that she took such ownership of the film. To your point before about, now there are finally roles. I feel like now we can finally start. Like before, when because we didn't have so many roles, every role we got, it was about not screwing it up. It was about doing it right. And whenever you introduce that element of right and wrong, it's dead. It's already done. So now we can make some noise. We can break some things. Like we can make mistakes because we have a playground now where we never had a playground before. We had one spot on one swing. So
it's amazing you're saying that, and you're also doing that on HBO's Industry, right? You are doing that, which is like, everyone's like, oh my God, Ken Leung on Industry.
Well, the both of us have been on both sides of that. We've been on the, we may never get another job. So how exactly do you want this to go? Versus now it's like, well, let's see what we can play with. It's like night and day. So I feel like we can actually begin now.
That's amazing that you say that, and I agree, because we won an Oscar, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I never thought I'd see that day where an Asian American, film would win an Oscar, and Chloe Zhao,
Celine Song.
Yeah, Celine Song. Yes, and Asian American women, women. Katarina Zhu. So they are paving the way, and I'm happy to follow their lead.
Yeah.
There are cuts scenes that were written in the script that were cut. My character actually had 2 scenes cut, and in watching it at Sundance, I went, oh, they cut my favorite scenes, actually 2 big scenes, and it's because my character was too big, I think, in the film. Then it would have sort of threw the balance off between the romantic, part and the platonic part, and then the ending, So the father, I felt like he had a scene where in the movie theater, he imparts a bit of philosophy because he's dying. So we missed a bigger, stronger line where we know he's dying. So, it's about, I forgot the lines, but about Christianity or just the cosmos, like where does your soul end up? And then later on, there's a scene.
In the hospital.
Before the hospital, there's a scene where we're watching a movie together, and you don't really see that because it's just a sort of backlit. We're in the theater. And then there's another scene where she's a little down in the subway, and I get her up to dance. And Tristan was dancing in that scene because it kind of showed that the father has this joyous side, too, that's still taking care of the daughter. So his death would have been bigger had we seen those scenes, but it would have been too big for the film and the story that she's wanted to eventually end up on screen. So I saw it and I went, oh, it's a good trade-off, because then you see the other characters. You see the other side of her life more. Otherwise, it would have been a father and daughter story. Yeah. Oh, here's a question up here.
Hi, you two. It's a great film. It's my second time viewing it. Last summer was a joy of viewing it at a rooftop. But what are your thoughts on how your character really manifested his emotions to his daughter, also while being kind of a heroic figure in the Asian American community, with his games? And one part of me felt if they never ran into each other, he would have never said anything to her. And this is really similar to me because you know, I didn't grow up with my dad, and you know, it's kind of tough. And I'm just thinking, you know, was this just a choice because he saw her, or was it by nature?
Well, I mean, I'm just going, yeah, I just base my performance and choices on what is written on the script. So I just surrender to the script. And if for me, if I keep reading the script over and over, everything's in what's written. So I don't think about what's not written, because even with what's written, you can play those things many different ways. You know, all those choices you can play so many different ways. But so I read the script over and over and over to really kind of hone in on what is the most obvious trajectory of that character, what would he obviously do, and then I would find the opposite of that. What would he obviously not do, but would be interesting, just so that I have a way about bringing choices in that might appear, you know, by chance, but you know, I've allowed that to happen. But I think William probably would have had a very difficult, you know, demise if he had not met Katarina on the street. It was his moment to, again, reconcile his past behavior.
Other questions? What was the movie that Katarina Zhu was watching? She had put it in her arms.
Oh, the horror movie at the end. I don't know actually what that was. They could have done that in
Was it a
post-production
horror?
stuff.
It was hard to tell if it what. I mean, it was a violent, right?
It was like Chucky or something. You know?
Didn't get the rights to anything. Yeah, it was too expensive to do a real movie, so we had to take care of the lights and audio.
Wait, what did Tristan say? That it's not.
It's innovative with lighting and
Oh, I see.
And sound effects. So yeah, getting the rights to another movie was expensive.
We have a question down
It's
here.
on the DVD.
The teenage piss orgy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was.
Hi, there was a picture when she was cleaning up her dad's apartment. There was something written behind, but I couldn't read it, and I was wondering if you guys knew what it said. It was a picture of her dad with her as a baby.
Oh
Do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, those Chinese writing on it.
Who reads? Yeah, I'm not literate in Chinese reading, so I don't know what it says. But that is a picture of me with my daughter. And there's a previous picture when she's searching in the office, like Googling with the father, and that picture comes up, and that's also the same daughter that's older. And they were here last night, so they kind of squeezed in the audience. Those are those two pictures are my home.
Okay.
Yeah, so my daughter's trans. She's now he, and he's 22. But then he was a girl, and I mean he loved the film last night. It made him cry.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Did he know his picture was going to be in the movie?
I told them a while back, but he'd probably forgotten. And then when it popped up, you know, I could hear him. Whoa, you know. Yeah. There's another question
up here. Yeah, thank you for the film. I have a question about some of the scenes in Chinatown. It feels alive. You know, it feels lived in with the community playing these games. Was that a mix of non-actors and actors? Do you know, with the notes that Katarina gave you, how did you make that feel, you know, just honest and authentic to what we can go walk down the street and see right there.
Yeah, when I found out that the film was shot in New York City, it was just like an extra perk, right? Icing on the cake, because I love New York City. I love filming in New York City. New York City is such a character in any film, right? People want to film in New York City, and it adds so much, clout to the film when you're shooting, because it's a character. You just have to be in the city, and your film is great. So in filming in Chinatown, actually in those scenes where people are playing cards and mahjong, they didn't want to give up the table. That was their table. They were like, oh, you guys are, So they were like,
have to be in it.
Yeah. Actually, and they were in it. They were standing around as we were filming. Like maybe the actual card players were background people who actually I know, and it was amazing to show up and I'm gonna play cards with Joe today. Joe. It was so fun. So
And you just went on playing when you were done.
yeah, and even as soon as we left, they were like, boom, they jumped on the seats, to play their games, And we shot there for 2 days, and it was the same guys. So like, you're back again, So it was really, it felt so natural because it was Chinatown. They were the denizens, the characters of the park. And there's a mahjong scene too. So some of those scenes I cut to answer the other question when Katarina, the character, is looking for me, and I'm playing MJ, like she couldn't find me, I'm playing mahjong. That was a longer scene when she comes in and goes, where were you? And I'm saying, well, you got it wrong, I'm playing mahjong. So they have a little argument, so that's their first sign of, oh, it's not gonna be a happy reconciliation, So it was a little bumpy, the reconciliation, but there are things that I feel like, yeah, the script was great, but when you get it finally, when you get it on screen or you get a cut, it's a whole different animal, right? It's a different living piece of art, what's on the page and what's on screen. So they have to adjust what they wrote, and that happens all the time. I'm sure you've come across that. Whatever you film is very different, on screen.
I too, it was a great film. It was my second time viewing it. Last summer was a joy viewing it at a rooftop. But what are your thoughts on how your character really manifested his emotions to his daughter, also while being kind of a heroic figure in the Asian American community, with his games? And one part of me felt if they never ran into each other, he would have never said anything to her. And this is really similar to me because I didn't grow up with my dad, and it's kind of tough. And I'm just thinking, was this just a choice because he saw her, or was it by nature?
Well, I mean, I'm just going, I just base my performance and choices on what is written on the script. So I just surrender to the script. And if for me, if I keep reading the script over and over, everything's in what's written. So I don't think about what's not written, because even with what's written, you can play those things many different ways. All those choices you can play so many different ways. But so I read the script over and over and over to really kind of hone in on what is the most obvious trajectory of that character. What would he obviously do? And then I would find the opposite of that. What would he obviously not do, but would be interesting, just so that I have a way about bringing choices in that might appear, by chance, but I've allowed that to happen. But I think William probably would have had a very difficult, demise if he had not met Katarina on the street. It was his moment to, again, reconcile his past behavior.
There was a picture when she was cleaning up her dad's apartment. There was something written behind, but I couldn't read it, and I was wondering if you guys knew what it said. It was a picture of her dad with her as a baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Chinese writing on it.
Who reads? I'm not literate in Chinese reading, so I don't know what it says. But that is a picture of me with my daughter. And there's a previous picture when she's searching in the office, Googling with the father, and that picture comes up, and that's also the same daughter. that's older, and they were here last night, so they kind of screamed in the audience. Those are those two pictures are my
How old is she
home.
now?
Okay.
Yeah, so my daughter is trans. She's now he, and he's 22. But then he was a girl, and I mean he loved the film last night. It made him cry.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Did he know his picture was going to be in the movie?
I told them a while back, but he'd probably forgotten. And then when it popped up, you know, I could hear him. Whoa, you know. Yeah. There's
a question up here.
Yeah, thank you for the film. I have a question about some of the scenes in Chinatown. It feels alive. You know, it feels lived in with the community playing these games. Is that a mix of non-actors and actors? Do you know, with the notes that Katarina gave you, how did you make that feel, you know, just honest and authentic to, you know, what we can go walk down the street and see right there?
Yeah, you know, when I found out that the film was shot in New York City, it was just like an extra perk, right? Icing on the cake, because I love New York City. I love filming in New York City. New York City is such a character in any film, right? People want to film in New York City, and it adds so much, you know, clout to the film when you're shooting, because it's a character. You just have to like be in the city, and your film is great. So in filming in Chinatown, actually in those scenes where people are playing cards and mahjong, they didn't want to give up the table. That was their table. They were like, oh, you guys are, you know. So they were like,
have to be in it.
Yeah. Actually, and they were in it. They were standing around as we were filming. Like maybe the actual card players were background people who actually I know, and it was amazing to show up and I'm gonna play cards with Joe today. You know, Joe. It was so fun. So
And it just went on playing when you were done.
yeah, and even and as soon as we left, they were like, boom, they jumped on the seats, you know, to play their games, you know. And we shot there for 2 days, and it was the same guys. So like, you're back again, you know. So it was really, it felt so natural because it was Chinatown. It was. They were the denizens, the characters of the park. And there's a mahjong scene too. So some of those scenes I cut to answer the other question when Katarina, the character, is looking for me, and I'm playing MJ, like she couldn't find me, I'm playing mahjong. That was a longer scene when she comes in and goes, where were you? And I'm saying, well, you know, you got it wrong, I'm playing mahjong. So they have a little argument, so that's their first sign of, oh, it's not gonna be a happy reconciliation, you know? So it was a little bumpy, the reconciliation. But there are things that I feel like, yeah, the script was great, but when you get it finally, when you get it on screen or you get a cut, it's a whole different animal, right? It's a different living piece of art, what's on the page and what's on screen. So they have to adjust what they wrote, you know, and that happens all the time. I'm sure you've come across that whenever you film is very different, you know, on screen.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
Hello. I'm still trying to digest. It's such a breeze, such a dreamy movie that I feel like we haven't seen a movie like this for a long time, and it reminded me of something we used to have. So thank you, Perry. Hi, it's Olive.
Olive. Oh yes, hi.
I wanted, besides the fact that you said that scene was cut, you dancing with Katarina, I really want to see that. I wish that would turn out to be in some B-side clip or another version where it's about the father and the daughter, and then the love is on the side. So my question is, how many times you have seen it? And this was filmed in 2023, right?
I think later than that.
Oh, 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, right.
So from then to now, like how have your reality as an actor changed with the film as you're watching it? I don't know how many times you watched.
Oh, so tonight is my 4th time watching it. Sundance was the first, and there was a rooftop series last year. That was my 2nd time. Last night was the premiere, so I came. That's my 3rd time, and today is the 4th time. And every viewing experience is different. As I'm sitting through watching it, I see different things, and that's why I understand when people say they watch their favorite films over and over, because you still see things. and I see things more clearly, intentionality with the direction and the scene shifts and the tempo changes of each scene makes, like, it's so much more, now I'm watching the craft of the film instead of being in the film, but also really enjoying the film. And I'm watching, oh, now the music comes in, oh right, and it's the music from before and it brings me back emotionally. So you're starting to think of it as how she crafted it, which is quite beautiful. You know, it's quite intelligent and sophisticated, you know, like her work. So I think I'm one of those actors that don't like to watch myself, you know, on TV, but I think you have to get better. And so moments like this, I do watch myself and go, oh, I see, I see what she means, you know, when to take it down, you know, things like that. So yes, I continue to learn from whenever I'm watching something I'm in, especially like for this one. Did that answer your question?
Oh, we have a question towards the front.
Maybe this is the last question, huh? Julie. Thank you for coming, Julie.
That was a great film. I was pleasantly surprised by it. But I'm curious to know from Tristan's perspective is your shirt, and also Perry, you know, what do you love about this film?
Oh wow. Do you want to start or?
No, please, Tristan.
Okay. I'll come up here so that I'm not just like crouched down.
Crouching tiger.
You know, as a producer, we get to see so many wonderful scripts, and I'm constantly seeing new incredible work by talented, young, original voices. With this film in particular, I think there was something really lovely about Katarina's perspective that we don't get to see very often. I think that so much of current cinema, Ken and I were speaking about this earlier, is so bombastic and loud and in your face, right? And it's all about shock and gore, or, you know, with the context of this film, I think a lot of people initially maybe thought it was going to be hypersexual because of the work that she does. And I think to see a film where we're normalizing sex work and we're taking a really gentle approach to the human experience and just letting us live with these characters and getting to live on their emotional journey in a way that's gentle and soft and human, it was a really refreshing script to read for me as a producer, that we just got to live in this world without needing big explosions.
I loved how we were talking about that it's almost like we're used to masculine energy, and that is I'm gonna bring the show to you, and it's aggressive, and it's like you have to sit back and watch it. Whereas this film has a kind of feminine energy in the sense that you kind of have to lean forward to watch it. It just is, and invites you to come to it. It doesn't thrust itself at you, and that's a really refreshing and different change.
Beautifully said. That's what I felt right away when I read the script. It was a script that pulled you in, right? It pulled you in without like telling you what's obvious. It was like these characters were just kind of smoldering, right? Like, and like inviting you to like give it a little breath, and it'll like flame up, right? It was just so beautifully written. But you know, we're talking about just, we are at a place now where we can sort of take risks and fail and just have fun with it. Katarina said last night, I didn't want to, or it was an interview we did, I didn't want to make another Asian American film, because we're making Asian American films and people are making Asian American films, and it's cool to make that, you know, but she didn't want to do it. But she did it, you know? And it was so deeply Asian American to me. And I said, yeah, you just made a film about a woman who's looking for love in some ways. I'm just trying to understand love. But it's so deep what that love is, and it's integral to her as being an Asian woman with the father's storyline. And then her friends, you know, like, I think that the scene probably will go unnoticed to many people when she walks into the art gallery and sees herself exoticized, again, as an Asian woman that's fetishized. She was kind of shocked that her friend did it to her. And, you know, like, not a lot of people would experience that, except, I think, a woman of color who's been, you know, exoticized and fetishized by the media. And then she sees it right away, you know, and people who are aware of that sees it right away. But that's a huge statement as an Asian American woman to make, I think, but like, nobody would know that, or not a lot of people would know that. So this film has a lot of those things in it for me, especially all through Chinatown. and the mahjong and that stuff is like, it's so Asian American, Chinese American, and without the film being Chinese American. So I think she really kind of ticked off the two boxes very well. And I think that, you know, those are the kind of films I like to see more and what I'm looking for. But again, I'm not saying, I'm just amazed that I get auditions and roles and things are written, you know, that for us, and that we probably, and you can actually audition roles that are not written for Asian Americans, that are not written for an Asian character.
Yeah, they didn't envision it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
But hey, let's look at Ken Leung for this John Smith role.
Right.
Right?
Often,
Yeah.
you know, they'll only see it if we show it to them. So.
And we're taking that risk, and
Yeah.
you certainly are taking that risk to say, hey, I could be John Smith, you know, a different John Smith.
Well, on that note, if there are
Yeah.
any directors or casting directors or producers in the audience that are looking for incredible actors to work with, I cannot recommend these two enough. Thank you both so much for this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much
you
for
all.
speaking with us.
Thank you all for Thank you all for your really wonderful questions and participating in this conversation.
Thank you for joining me for this edition of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang. Until next time.